Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for May 31st. First, to my southern neighbors, I hope you had a enjoyable Memorial Day long weekend. But it's May 31st, which means June is tomorrow. And that's what I want to take a look at today. I want to see just exactly how the month of June is going to unfold in a couple of areas. So the first area I want to look at is the June 6th committee, who is going to be releasing or starting to release their report. I understand it's going to be in six sort of separate installments, I guess. But I want to see how that's going to impact not only the political parties, but I'm going to do a separate thing, and I want to see how that's going to impact Trump and some of the support he does or does not have. Because honestly, even though there's those diehards, it really does look like overall his death grip, is loosening. So, shall we get started and see what June looks like, shall we? Yeah, I have a question. Page of Pentacles that went fine, and the Three of Pentacles, and the Seven of Cups. Maybe I'll just shuffle them once and get on with this, shall we? There we go. June, day 6th, American people. June, J6th, American people. June, J6th, American people. See what kind of an impact that committee has, shall we? Okay, so it's going to focus on, or there's going to be a lot of information or focus on sort of the whole stolen election nonsense and how that progressed to literally the insurrection of January 6th. There is going to be, it looks like it's going to be a very, very clear and concise sort of unfolding narrative, so that people are going to be able to kind of follow along, like literally installment by installment. The government is going to present a very clear, kind of no holds barred presentation. It is going to be communicated effectively and with clarity. And ultimately, it is going to really fill in a lot of the spaces and blanks that we have not had filler for, okay? Now, it's interesting because it still looks as if there are going to be pockets of people who are just going to continue to be defensive. And I think some of these defensive people are literally going to be those people in the Republican Party who have refused to cooperate, because they can't then say, well, they didn't let me tell my side of the story. It slanted it, because they had every opportunity, and yelling and screaming about how it is a witch hunt, or it's not really bipartisan, or what. It's not really going to hold a lot of water, because it really does look like what's going to come out is going to bring a great deal of sort of clarity and um, insight, I think, into some of the stuff that went on. And frankly, I think there's going to be some real shock at how deeply rooted the trickery and the deceit was. I think people are going to be really, really surprised. And, I think from there, you are going to see that there are going to be, you know, information turned over to the Justice Department, and there are going to be indictments and convictions as a result of this information. There are those who may even surprisingly walk away, who just say, you know what, enough is enough, and I can't keep playing these games. It's destroyed me and my career. I'm going to walk. Now, I don't think there's going to be a mad exodus of, Republicans, although, wow, that would be lovely, wouldn't it? But it definitely feels like there could be a couple people who are going, you know what, I just can't even. And it looks like they're going to be walking away and leaving. One of the things that we're going to discover is how deeply entrenched money is, how much it has played a role, how much has been sort of spent or channeled, where it is coming from. And that kind of illumination on the situation is really going to point out overindulgences, whether that is greed, whether that is power, whatever it is. It's really going to make very, very clear that there's incredible unbalanced situation going on in terms of dirty money, in terms of money being funneled, in terms of bribes and payoffs. Now, it's not going to, no one's going to come along and say, okay, well, Mitch McConnell was bribed, but, with, $5.2 million in donations. That's not what's going to happen. But there's definitely going to be a money trail that we're going to be able to follow. Okay. Ultimately, it looks like for the committee, they really are going to bring this thing together in a way that, unless you honestly are completely brainwashed, you're going to be able to see with some clarity what exactly happened. So where's this going to impact people the most? It's going to impact independent voters who maybe are like, I don't know what the heck's going on. It's going to strengthen and, frankly, finally energize the Democrats to get off their cute little tushes and get cracking. You have a election in like 4 months, 5 months. And it's pivotal, because you know what? If the Republicans trounce the Democrats, it's going to not be a good thing, okay? Because the Democrats will not be able to bounce back in 2024. Now, all indications are that they're going to be okay, the Dems. But it's always with the caveat that people have to be involved, people have to be geared up, people have to be psyched, people have to do their part to hold on to that precious democracy that they have. Because unless you have been living in a cave and under a stone, you can't have not seen the autocratic and dictatorship kind of behavior that is being not only displayed but flaunted by the Republican Party. But it definitely feels like they're going to get, kind of a little ginned up here, a little like worked up, and say, okay, well, you know what, really enough is enough. I also think that for those Republicans who are maybe growing a little weary of the Trump nonsense. Maybe they've had enough of the, Hawthorns and the Greens and the Bowitts, that they may say, okay, you know what, really, we need to look in another direction. I don't know how, what the stats are, or even how you get that information, or if that information is available already. But I just energetically feel that what you had was a lot of Republicans, I'm going to call them like soft Republicans, okay, who really are shifting their allegiance to an independent kind of outlook. They're neither one or the other. They're going to vote on the issues that concern them. So overall, I have to say, it looks as if the J6 committee is going to deliver. It's going to deliver to the American people, and it's going to deliver to the Justice Department, and it's going to really help people see, kind of with clarity, what's been going on kind of under their noses. Yeah, you know, is it going to fix everything? Of course not. But I think that you're going to see movement in a way that is positive, and that comes, that starts strengthening things. I mean, I gotta say, I like Uncle Joe as much as the next guy, but wow, he is really struggling. His numbers are down. He can't catch a break. Every time the man turns around, there is some other crisis to be dealt with, and worse, the crises that he's trying to deal with, apparently, none of the Republicans like any of them, and so they just blocking everything. Which, of course, McConnell said that was exactly how he was going to handle Biden's presidency. He was going to block every single thing he could. And you know what? Honestly, the guy's been true to his word. So there needs to be a shift or a reassessment done in terms of looking at, how this kind of moves forward, and we get people excited about the Dems wanting to vote. Apparently his numbers are down among black people. That's not a good thing, because they have always been a really, really staunch Democrat supporter. But things are shifting, and hopefully the information that comes out, perhaps some of the charges that are going to be laid, um, and even some people just sort of walking away, perhaps that's going to help and move this thing forward in, frankly, a more kind of auspicious way. Because I got to say, right now, um, there's a bit of a struggle to the road ahead. I mean, that doesn't minimize at all the fact that I continue to see the Dems coming through. But it's like I've said, it's not going to be, a piece of cake or a walk in the park. It is going to be, you know, a tough sell. And I have to say, honestly, between women's rights and gun violence, I fail to see how Democrats and independents cannot get really excited about the upcoming midterms. But it doesn't look like I haven't seen that actually happening. Seen that happening yet. And right now, maybe it's just more grassroots. And that could be why, that energy hasn't bubbled up to the surface. All right. I want to take a look at the Trump family and see how they are going to do as a result of the information coming out on coming out with the J6 committee. I mean, Donald Trump apparently was overjoyed when people were screaming, "Hang Mike Pence." He thought that the insurrectionists just violating the Capitol like that was amazing. So, again, there's always going to be that percentage of people. But I think for most intelligent, rational adults, they're going to say, you know what, this is so not cool. Let's see. Let's see what happens to the Trump family, shall we? June, Trump family, June, Trump family, June, Trump family. And so I'm sure you have all heard that Donald and Ivanka and Junior all have to sit for depositions in the New York case regarding business. So, I mean, I said this before, right? They're going to be very foggy headed that day. They're not going to remember anything, or they're just going to scream the Fifth Amendment for everything. But that in and of itself tells a story. Okay, as far as the family, the former family goes, it's all about the money. It's all about stabilizing seniors' emotions. Okay, that's a big part of what's going on. There's panic about funds, and there is a real um, kind of unhinged energy. He is being really impacted already by the low turnout at rallies. He's being impacted by the fact that people are walking out of his rallies. He's being impacted by the fact that not every single one of his picks is, winning their primary. So there's a lot going on, and it's going to continue to accelerate. I heard, I think the Attorney General of Georgia, Paxton. I hope I have the right state, but apparently he is now being the American Bar Association is going after him for trying to overturn the election. So this is the thing. The ripples continue to ripple out, if you will. And ultimately, that's going to have a really big impact. We are those people now who, well, okay, so if I want to talk to somebody in Florida, I just send out a Zoom invite, and in 2.3 seconds, I'm connected to them. If I want to find out the population of somewhere in, 1832, I can get on a computer, and in 5.2 seconds, I have the answer. We have become so used to this really, really accelerated pace that when things aren't done immediately, we all start getting impatient and anxious and worried. It bears repeating, okay? The whole um, situation with Nixon, that took 5 years. 5 years. We are 18 months, okay? Now, getting back to the you know who family. There is definitely sort of like a death spiral going on. There is an awareness, I think, particularly among the siblings, that they're not going to be able to kind of go back to the glory days. The magnifying glass is far too big and far too focused. And this is interesting, this Knight of Cups, because it sort of feels a little bit like they're going to try to make offers of like, we'll tell you this, if that. And I don't actually see it going over very well. I feel like they're going to be hard pressed to sort of be able to um, gain leverage. Okay. It's like too much is stacked against them. The time to have gained leverage was months ago, and they didn't do that because they were all so busy trying to keep, daddy calm. Not that that did any good. As the information comes out from the committee, from the January 6th committee, he is going to become more and more outraged. Okay. He is going to, um, there's going to be these emotional outbursts because, again, he doesn't know when to be quiet. And so you can expect more reporting on those memos from the desk of 45. And who knows, he might even actually get on his own failing, what is it, True Social platform and, spout off. They are going to continue to try to rally around this nonsense of the election being stolen. That's going to be what they keep parroting, but you know what? It's not going to work. I mean, honestly, and right now, who's the only one screaming about that loudly? I mean, Mike Lindell, Roger Stone. I mean, we're down to the fringe of the fringe, okay? But that's going to be his, this is the thing. He thinks that if he just blusters and blusters and blusters, he can step away from this. But you know what? He can only scream at somebody else's fault so many times. Yeah, a lot of news that isn't going to be great news for them, and some pretty harsh judgments coming their way. I actually think that there are some, and here's justice coming for them. And when it comes, it will happen systematically and swiftly, and there's going to be a lot of communications and talk about it. What I was starting to say is I actually feel like some of their really big money supporters, I think that we may not know about this, but it feels as if some of them are going to very quietly start backing away. And listen, it's not because they don't believe the message, but they believe that under Trump, the message has become so corrupted that it can't move forward. And it feels like they're going to start pulling their money from Trump and redirecting it. And whether they're redirecting it to DeSantis or somebody else, but I think that what's going to happen is you're going to see that they're going to lose more and more support from big money. And so, of course, what does they do then? Well, of course, then they go after the individual people who really already can't afford to give him any more. But there's definitely legal matters that are going to come crashing down on them. I know it's not only going to be about January 6th. I see some other legal sort of things, fancy words I use, situations kind of coming to a head, kind of we're going to get more clarity on them. And I think that for the Trump family, it is going to create a real sense of imbalance. Like they're not going to be able to get their footing for a while. And listen, it's not just going to be June for them. This is going to be the summer of hell for them, because it really is going to be one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. And as this summer unfolds, and frankly, even as you get to the midterms, it's going to become more and more apparent that the people that Trump is supporting are really so far right and so far unhinged that I don't think that they're going to get a lot of traction. Sure, they're going to get traction deep in the South where people believe the nonsense. And they have, governors who are just as whacked, frankly. But overall, there feels like there is an energy shift that's going to take place. And sooner or later, the Trump family is going to find themselves really out in the cold. They're going to discover that they don't have the friends or the support that they thought they had. People are going to continue to move away from them, as being too close to their message is going to be an undesirable place to be. Yeah, the partnerships are going to suffer. Whatever partnerships, political, business, etc. There's going to be an issue there. Yeah. So overall, for this family, it does not look great. It definitely looks like it's going to be not only a tough month, but a difficult summer. And, so that's kind of going to be interesting. Um, I'm getting some sort of funny little tingles about Jared and Ivanka, and I think I just want to take a peek at them, see how their June is going to be, and frankly, how their summer is going to be. There's reporting that has come out recently talking about the, 500 million or whatever it is deal that he did with the Saudis, I think, and comes to pass that what he did is ethnically not cool, but not illegal. And so in some ways, and that, and of course, all the trademarks or whatever it was that Ivanka got out of China, when it comes right down to it, it feels like they are the ones who profited the most. Sorry, hang on. Sorry about that. It feels like they are the ones that really came out ahead and on top. So let's take a quick look at Jared and Ivanka. I don't know. Let's look at them for the summer. Jared, Ivanka, summertime. Jared, Ivanka, summertime. Jared, Ivanka, summertime. Mm-hmm. So honestly, it kind of looks like, in some ways, as much as we don't want to hear this, it looks like their luck is going to hold for a while yet. And while it is holding, it really does look like they are going to be very, very busy trying to extricate themselves, perhaps leave the country. They are going to try to return to that place that they were prior to the brainstorm that Daddy had about becoming, the most powerful man in the world. Don't think it's going to work. There are things behind the shadows, not only that they are trying to keep in the shadows, but there are also things that are quietly going on behind the scenes that they don't know about yet. So as their fortune continues to be in a relatively good place right now, it definitely feels like there's some real difficult times coming down the road. There's going to be information coming out about business practices in particular that could very, very well get them into a little bit of hot water. And it really, really feels like it really feels as if sort of the way they're going to handle that is really going to be to try to escape it. Okay. There's a lot swirling around them right now. And it feels as if even though in some ways they're ahead of the game, it almost feels as if internally there is a lot of confusion, a lot of doubt for sure, because they don't know exactly what all is going to come out over the month of June in particular. But there's definitely a sense that this is a situation that they can't control. It's spiraling, and they don't have the bully power to push back, perhaps the way they did a few years ago. So this is an interesting time for them. Of course, for them, it's about the money, but it looks like definitely going forward, they're going to have some trouble. I mean, you've got the Ten of Swords here and the Five of Pentacles flanking the sort of Knight of Pentacles, which is, in this case is being read kind of like as that mercenary card, right? For them, it's all about the money, except eventually that's going to be what brings them down. All right. Okay. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So now they have the death card, which means that where they're at now, whatever good fortune they have, is really, really going to come to an end. And the Hierophant here speaks to me of government, whether it is the US government or governments in other countries who may no longer want to associate quite so closely with them. There's also a lot of stress and strain within the relationship. It feels as if I almost want to say there's some, it feels like communications or documentation, paperwork, something having to do with communications. It feels as if something in there is going to come under the unblinking eye of the law, if you will. So it feels like there's something else coming out there. And it really is going to be about business practices. It's going to be about, either flat out cheating or thievery or scams, but there's definitely some mucky stuff coming out. But I have to say, right now, it sort of feels later in the summer or into the fall. Okay, so there we have it. Okay, so maybe let's all take our vitamins and get some sleep, because it really does feel like June is going to be quite the month. It just feels like there's going to be a lot of information, a lot of communication, a lot of stuff bouncing back and forth and back and forth. And so we're all going to really need to be kind of paying attention. And we're all going to need to be kind of focusing on the big picture and not getting too caught up in the bitty pieces and details. All right. Okay. I'm hoping that was helpful and insightful. Have a wonderful June personally. I hope that as you move through summer, it is enjoyable and that you take the time to, I don't know, get some sunshine, hang out at the beach, smell the flowers, whatever it is. Until next time, take care, be well, and see you soon. Bye bye.